Hello, everyone. Welcome to She. It's good to have you back. It's good to be here. Excited. Good to have you here, Carolyn.
Hello.
Woo! It's a fun day. Although today we get to talk about patriarchy. That basically it is how we see our world. It's how we do things. We've been doing it like that since the beginning of time. And it's been slowly changing. But it's been changing, but it's just slow. That it's been the norm to have men be seen as the ones who are the strongest, the smartest, that have the best decision powers. And it's not always the truth. Even if they didn't have, an education, women who have even doctorates come up against men and often aren't seen as intelligent as the men who don't even have the education. So it's changing. It's a slow change, but that's what feminism had introduced, was to see that women wanted to have a voice. They wanted to be heard. They wanted to be seen, and it's worked. We see women. We hear them. And now we have sort of the opposite that's been happening with men, that they don't feel heard. But we've had so many years, though, of being marginalized as women, and that we've been oppressed in a lot of ways. We've had limited opportunities, and we've pushed so hard to have more opportunities, to be seen as a viable option in our society. We've even had to be proven that we were actual people,
Right.
in Alberta,
Yeah.
in our laws. Which, for me, to go back in history to see that, it to me felt unthinkable that we would have a moment in our history that we as women were not even considered as people. Like, well, what were we considered then?
I don't know, but that was they called it the person's
I know, and I find that silly. Why is it that we always have to feel that someone is in control? Why do we always have to feel that someone is always better than blank, someone else, right? It doesn't even make any sense to me. But this is patriarchy. This is how we see our world. We see our world through those lenses. And I encourage people to take a look at perhaps their own way of looking at the world, and to see that is that really what you believe, or is that what you've been told? And is it something that you want to continue believing as a male and as a female?
Yeah, I was just thinking of my grandma.
Mm-hmm.
So she was a strong woman. She was quite religious, United Church, very strong supporter.
Yes.
And very kind, but also very supportive of movements like the women's right to vote.
Right.
Those kind of things. And yet she was horrified when women started wearing what we called slacks back then.
Right.
Pants. Women were not to wear the pants.
No. And that's where our saying, we know who wears the pants in that family, because as soon as a woman shows that she's a leader in their home, that's what she gets slapped with. Oh, we know who wears the pants in that house. Very degrading, just because it's meant to say, oh, well, you're not really a woman, you're a man, because you wear the pants.
Or you're not capable.
Yeah, exactly. Which is sad. But my mom used to say that all of the time, and yet she was probably the leader in our home.
Well,
made all the decisions.
And that's interesting, because it wasn't just men. women can be very patriarchal. And
Yes.
sometimes women were the worst for putting down another woman with a saying like that was clearly detrimental.
Well, some of that goes right back to that we're seen as not really viable people until we get married. And then once we're married, well, then you have some worth. Now you're worth something in our society. You have value, because now you can be a mother. Now you can be, this a matriarch in our society, but only this way. And it's fascinating. And I have an aunt who lost her husband, which is my mom's brother, and she said there's some people that choose not to have her over anymore because they don't want her after their husbands.
Oh,
And she says, I'm not interested in having a husband anymore. But there's this competition that's built into that, right?
Yeah.
That we're not supposed to trust other women. I'm not supposed to have a friend that's a woman, because they're always after our guy.
That was another way to weaken women.
Oh, of course it was.
And we did it
them.
to ourselves. It wasn't just done to us.
Well, and that's first because we've had so many good years of being socialized under patriarchy, that we've internalized that patriarchy. We've internalized misogyny, so that we kind of almost don't even like ourselves, that we blame women for a lot of stuff as a result. And we don't trust women. If women were to heal a lot of that, we'd realize that there's more of us than there is of men, and that we could really make a huge difference in this world. We could, on a healing level.
Right. And I think we knew, we didn't know, we were prevented from really supporting each other and connecting with each other.
Exactly.
I remember, my mom used to watch soap operas, so that was a big influence. She even got my name off of soap opera.
Oh, good.
But anyway, it was always the evil woman who took the man away from his wife.
Yes.
It was never what the man had done. And I don't know that we look at it quite that way now, but that's definitely
a lot of it. I had a friend of mine that I worked with, goodness, years ago, who her guy, they weren't married, but they were living together, ended up sleeping with another woman, and she didn't say anything about him, but she hated the woman.
Yeah.
And so it's still a fairly prevalent thing.
Yeah.
Because we give a lot of passes to men and their behavior because of patriarchy. But it has been changing. It has been shifting, and really, I think what patriarchy has done, and I guess I would say, we were able to introduce feminism, and then what feminism has done was to give women a say, to shine the light on the oppression, to shine the light on the lack of resources for women. And we've really done a lot of shifting and growth because of it, a lot of healing for women. But in that process, we forgot to bring men along.
Right. And we've had some people ask us about our name, she.
Oh, yeah.
So this is a good time for you to explain.
Sure. She came out of soul honoring evolution. We wanted the name, and it just ended up that way. But he is a part of she. And that to be able to grow and change, we have to have both of those aspects. And so that's our name. It's togetherness.
Mhm.
and we're going to make a difference together.
And now I know the right answer to that.
Because people always ask, well, if this is supposed to be about balance, how can you have the name she, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how we can. And it's soul honoring evolution. It's I'm going to honor your soul and my soul as we just have this discussion about where we can go from here. If we've always had patriarchy as the way to look at life, what kind of paradigm can we have? What kind of paradigm can we create together to have a more open society, to have more trust between men and women? Like I was talking to a friend of mine who said that he he wanted to be a nurse, but chose not to be a nurse because he didn't want people to think of him as being gay. And so what it has done on that side as well is we've told men what jobs they can't have, even if that's what their soul feels called to do.
Mhm.
They're not allowed to because then they're seen as gay.
Mhm. Mhm.
And if men start talking about their feelings and they get like companionship with men and on a level that's beyond just laughing and that kind of camaraderie, they're also seen as gay,
Right.
and
Yeah.
which makes no sense to me at all. And so there's a lot yet left to do for us to be able to come together. I also know of a friend of mine who also chooses not to be a part of boys and girls clubs because
Like as a counselor.
yeah
Mhm.
and even some teachers have been worried about this, about being seen as a predator,
Right.
which not all men are predators, but it has been part of our history that men were the primary predators of our of our
And the truth
of
is
being
that
human.
the one predator usually has a lot of victims. It's not that
Yes,
so many
yes,
men are predators.
exactly. And women have become predators now as well, because eventually, of course, that would happen, because it was primarily women that were, or little girls that were victims of sexual
Mhm,
abuse.
mhm. At first, for sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
And of course that's not the case anymore, but that's that internalized hatred, that internalized
Mhm.
I'm not worthy piece, that women started acting out on other children and even their spouses,
Right.
verbally and such. Um, but and that's where we're at. Like, instead of always believing that someone has to have the last say, instead of believing that there is one part of our society that is better than the other, even between men and women and persons of color, why is it we always have to put down other human beings? And there's part of that is this worthiness piece,
Mhm.
that all of us have as human beings. I think, at least that's my experience as a Reiki master, is when I have clients that come to me, and often it's because we don't believe in ourselves. We don't think we're of value. We don't feel that we're worthy of
Mhm.
love, and so we act out on that. And it's time to change that.
Right. Absolutely.